Sam. I was very lucky to be invited along on this fabulous trip. Well, I was actually roped into it a little bit really, and yes, and David sort of said, "You interested in going?" I was like, "Oh, I could be interested." And, "Oh, brilliant, you've gone, we've signed you up already." So I was like, "Nice." But no, it was amazing. So I want to say a big thank you to Caroline, and a big thank you to everybody that we went with, because it really was an amazing trip. Emotional, stressful, brilliant, marvellous, every emotion you could possibly imagine. I mean, it was quite something. So I wanted to talk about the young people, so not necessarily the children as Teresa did, but about the younger generation. Because when Caroline told me what we were actually going to be doing about going to a university, I was actually a little bit unsure. I was kind of, I don't really want to go and teach students in a university. I'd much rather be in maybe a refugee camp or in the schools or on the streets with the kids. Oh.
You seem to have the effect of my ears.
What's that say? So I'm a bit deaf in one ear, you have to speak up a bit.
Yes, so am I.
Oh, good. We can hang out. Anyway.
Carry on, carry on.
A bit louder. Sorry for you, because you're deaf at the back as well. Yeah, sorry. Apologies. Anyhow, sorry guys. I wasn't actually very sure about working in university, just purely because I wasn't sure what the deal was. And actually, I'm really, really pleased that we did end up teaching in universities and working with the guys there, mainly because actually, sort of similar to what Teresa was saying, it's actually these young men between sort of 15 and sort of 21, they're actually the most vulnerable and the most susceptible to having things happen to them. Lots of different things happen. I was very lucky to meet a huge array of young people. I got sort of every day we finished at school, we all kind of flopped ready, and then I got dragged off to a youth club or to a martial arts school or to somewhere else to go and teach for another 5 hours and then get fed and watered as we did every 5 minutes. So I'm just going to check my notes quickly. So yeah, I mean, Nablus itself, I thought was a beautiful city, one of the oldest cities in the world, fabulous university, I mean, just incredible, really, really incredible university, wonderful people, we were treated absolutely beautifully. And Nablus actually at the time was quite untouched. It was kind of left to their own devices a little bit, or so it seemed. They definitely had a lot less problems than, say, Hebron, which Kate will obviously enlighten you on a little bit more. Unfortunately, obviously, there's been a few incidents since then, which I'm sure most of you are aware of, that have happened recently, which have made it a little bit more difficult to be in Nablus at this specific moment. I was actually chatting with one of the guys today, and he was saying actually things are clearing up a bit and things are moving again. So that's good for you guys when you're going to be going there in a week or whenever it is. There's less military presence basically. So we were quite lucky actually to be in Nablus because it's a fabulous place. The pictures are all quite random, to be honest. I'm not much of a photographer. I just took random photos of random groups of people who randomly took photos of me. Sorry. Yeah. This is actually a school. Just so you know, and I'll get onto the school in a minute because the school was blew me away. It was incredible. Anyhow. Caroline brought up the point. On a Monday afternoon, I went and watched a football match in Nablus in downtown. Got introduced to all the team, nice young guys, lovely. 2 days later, I get sort of told by Dr. Suleiman, who was sort of my contact in the sports department. I was working in the sports department as I'm a martial arts instructor. So they sort of wrote me into helping them out over there and stuff. And then, as I say, 2 days after the incident, one of the young men who I met winds up getting shot on his way home from the football match that I was at. So it kind of was a little bit of a for the heartstrings for me anyway, just because I've never had that first-hand experience with something like this. It hit me a little bit hard, to be honest. I was quite emotional that day, and we had quite a lot of things on that day as well. So it kind of, it was quite a big thing to take in, and it just kind of made me realise how vulnerable, like we were just saying, how vulnerable they already are. But the amazing thing about all of them, which I found with particularly young guys, is that they're still the same as we. A lot of the teenagers are very apathetic. They're lazy. They can't be bothered to do things. All the things that we have here as well. But also they have this underlyingness about them, which was just incredible. And I had so much admiration that they're like, through all of this, even now, the ones who I met anyway, they said we don't hate anybody. We don't want the violence. We don't want this anymore. We don't want to be occupied for sure. But I have no hate towards my neighbours because actually, at the end of the day, we're all human beings. I mean, one young chap who I ended up doing quite a lot of private classes with, one-on-one for his kickboxing and stuff, I asked him, I said, how do you feel, about the Israelis, the occupation? And he just said it beautifully, a little spark, like a little ray of sunshine in his eye. And he said, how can we hate anybody? He said, we're all human beings. And I don't know, that burst into tears, as most people who know me would know I'm an emotional wreck, as on a good day anyway. But that really sort of struck a chord with me, and I was just like, wow, through all of this anger, all this animosity, all this violence, you still, your heart is still so open and so willing to accept and be forgiving. And I think that really struck a chord with me, and since then I've made it sort of quite a strong principle of mine to not get upset. And 2 days after we got back, my car literally blew up. Head gasket, radiator, 3 cylinders and everything else in the front just and I looked at Kat, I was like, we're not getting shot at, we're not getting detained, we're not, we are just so incredibly lucky and privileged and honoured. And coming back sort of made me even more emotional because of that, because having seen all these young guys and what they go through and how unbelievably privileged we all are here, basically. We went to Hebron. I'll let Kate sort of talk more about that. That was quite a dark day, quite a lot to sort of take in. It's probably the best word to describe Hebron is horror, and the young people there. But I think I'll leave it there because I think Kate's going to tell you more about that. We went to a lovely camp called the Asker refugee camp. I say lovely, I mean as far as the refugee camp can be lovely. We had a wonderful connection there who Caroline knows already, Amjad. And today I had some very exciting news from the Kickboxing Federation of Palestine. They're going to start running classes for me in the refugee camp for the children of the refugee camp.
Hey,
well done. So I was very happy with that. That was really good. That's kind of what I would like to do more so. Most of you know, I mean, I'm on Facebook lots. I speak pretty much most days with one of the Palestinians who I met when I was there, one of the young guys, one of the teachers. So we're trying to sort of keep relations going. I'm not going to put up things on my Facebook page bad-mouthing anybody else. I'm not getting involved in that sort of stuff, because for me, most important thing is actually we can keep our relationships going. And if I start posting anti-this and anti-that, and then I'm the one who might end up suffering for it, and the people there might suffer for it too. And I don't want to do that. I had a great time there, and I want to make sure that carries on. So my sort of real sort of feedback for all the younger guys there was, what can we do for them in the future, as opposed to let's not worry about what's happened, let's worry about what we can do. And so I'm trying to sort of set up a few little projects on the way. As Caroline said, we're going to run a martial arts sort of festival of the West Bank when we go over there, hopefully in October, fingers crossed. Also, we're sort of trying to get as many things going now as I can for when I get over there, or when we all get over there. So if anybody, I know Alan will also be joining me to teach them some kickboxing. Won't we, Alan? Yeah, that's right. Very good, very good.
Well, yeah, you've spilled the beans there.
Sorry, I shouldn't have. Sorry. But anyway, so yeah, that was very exciting today to hear that news. That was really great. So we know the kids are going to have something nice, because they really enjoyed the little bit that myself and Kate did some, and the other ladies did some fantastic drama and singing and stuff with them. So that was really positive. As you see, a lot of the pictures are just me with hordes of very young, sort of fit, handsome Palestinian young men and boys. Yeah, that's pretty much an average evening when I was there.
Quiet night.
Quiet night in with me and Alan. That was right. Yeah. You can't quite see in the photos, Alan, but never mind.
I was training.
Anyhow, I got treated it was humbling and embarrassing at the same time. I mean, they treated me like I was some higher being, and I really just tried to make them realise how it really isn't that. We're literally just here. We're all human beings, and we're all here to be just together, right? It doesn't matter where I'm from or what levels I've got. I mean, also the embarrassing thing was I turned up with 3 GCSEs and no A levels, and I'm trying to teach professors and doctors and stuff, so that was a little bit humbling as well for me. A little bit embarrassing when they're all sort of sitting on my every word with their note pens, and I'm kind of just like, you know what I mean? So it wasn't. I felt a little bit embarrassed about that, but I got over it. It was all right. So yeah, I was really lucky to visit Nablus Youth Club, which is. It's an all right place. It's probably the easiest thing to say. If I'm totally honest, excuse me, it's a bit of a dive. They've got no equipment. The weights are chapped and old. The boxing ring is falling apart, and I wouldn't have even stepped foot in it without probably going through it. They had 2 pairs of focus pads, and they've got 40 kids who train there every night. So another thing that we are doing, I'm actually going to be sending over a load of stuff to them so we can help support them and push forward their stuff. So I was really lucky to go there That's not the Nablus Youth Club. That's a karate school. But anyhow, so the Nablus Youth Club, obviously they need a lot of support. So I'm gonna go back again. We're gonna try and help them out as much as we can and try and sort of support them, because a lot of young people go through that. Similar to here, a lot of young people come through, you know, youth clubs and stuff here, and it's no different there, apart from they don't have any money and any means to get any equipment. So I thought, well, that's easy enough for me. I've got a garage full of loads of boxing gloves and punch bags and things, so we'll just ship a load of that over to those guys and help them out a little bit with that. I'm not going to bang on too much longer. One more thing, the main sort of thing was with the young people was really there was one moment, myself and Sandy, wherever Sandy's gone, there she is, we were teaching a little class together. They sort of said, come and teach martial arts, and within about 2 minutes we realised that the girls obviously are not allowed to do martial arts in front of boys, so it became pretty obsolete that I couldn't actually do any of the skill set that I was there to do. So we sat down and we discussed, and one of the things that sort of hit me straight away was this young lady put her hand up and she said, you know, you're coming here to help teach us, you're coming here to preach peace and love and all these things. She's like, but you're here to teach us violence. What the hell are you doing here, basically? And it kind of shook me a little bit, because I've never really thought of it in that context. And actually, she had a very valid point. I'm not going to sort of say, as most people who know me and know about martial arts know, that's sort of the last thing that you're sort of going for, whether it's a spiritual journey, it's a self-improvement journey, whatever you want to call it. But then we had to sort of explain that, and actually the fact that she brought that to me really sort of rang home again, by the fact that it's her telling me, why are you teaching us violence? We don't need to know violence. What we actually need is education, because the violence isn't gonna help us at all. As we all know, it doesn't help anything. And actually, education is what's gonna help these guys sort of get through and get out of the situation that they're in, or at least do the best that they can with it, right? So that was quite an interesting point. And then just the general positivity between the young people to us was just, again, a very humbling experience. We were treated so well. You know, I've made a lot of friends now, obviously speaking regularly with them and stuff. So yeah, it was quite something, and quite, again, humbling to see that, you know, these guys can be so happy and positive and, you know, pushing through, even though, like Teresa said, there isn't really much hope for them, to be honest, at the moment anyway. But the other thing, so one more thing, is that most of the guys that I met, they've not known anything different. They don't know about how it used to be like maybe 50 years ago, like some of the older generation do. All they know is the occupation. So the fact that they still live with that, but they're still willing to carry on and trying to do the things that they're trying to do is really admirable of them. And I think, you know, greatest of respects goes to all the people in Palestine for their efforts and for everything. So you know, hopefully we can all sort of get together again and we can all go out again, because it's a wonderful thing to do, and I strongly recommend everyone try to do it at some stage. Brilliant. Thank you very much.